Hi guys, welcome back to another interesting tutorial, and in this tutorial I'll be teaching you how to make this beautiful drape skirt in the easiest way ever. There are different types of drape skirts, and this is a fabric that I'll be using to make this skirt. I want you to watch this video to the end so you will see the final result of my own skirt. So we are first starting with a pattern paper, and this pattern paper will serve as the front and the back of this tutorial. So first of all, I'll go ahead and rule out my starting line. After I was done ruling my starting line, the next thing I will do is to take my vertical measurement, which is my hip length, knee line, and then the full length of the skirt. So my hip length is 9, my client's knee line is 19.5, and then the full length of our skirt is 32, and I added 2 inches extra for the hemming allowance. So when I was done marking it out, I also went ahead at the center of my pattern to remark so that the lines will be easier for me to connect. So I went ahead to impute her hip, her knee, and then the full length of the skirt. So when I'm done, I'll use my ruler to connect the points that I made into a straight line, just the way you see me doing. After I was done with this, I'm going to go ahead and achieve my upper hip. So for my client hip line, I'm going to come up by 2 inches. I'll go ahead now and mark the 2 inches across. So after I was done with that, I'll use my ruler to connect this point into a straight line. When I'm done with this, guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to label waistline, upper hip, actual hip, the knee line, and then the full length of the skirt. So on the waistline, I'm going to impute her waist measurement. Her waist measurement is 28.5 divided by 4. I marked what I had there. And then the upper hip, I'll divide her hip by 4. Whatever I have, I'll mark it there. Whatever I have on this upper hip, that's the same thing I'm going to repeat on the actual hip. Then on the knee line, I actually used her hip divided by 4. That's what I use on the knee line and then on the full length. So for this kind of skirt, there is no need for contouring the knee or making it fitted. No, it's not necessary. So when I'm done with this, guys, I'll go ahead and connect this point into a straight line or into the curve that it comes out. So are you seeing that our skirt pattern is already coming out? So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to add allowance. In this type of skirt, it's very important that you add your sewing allowance because you're going to need it. So you need to add your sewing allowance. So I'm going to go ahead right now to add it. So for the allowance, I'll be using 1 inch. So if you want your drape to be very draped, you can actually use 1.5, but don't exceed 1.5, between 1 inch to 1.5. So for the knee line, I use 0.75. I didn't use 1 inch for the knee line and the full length. So I'll go ahead right now and connect. Remember that my allowance did not start from my waist. It started from my hip line. So it's now from that lower waist that I now connected it to the hip line and then to the knee and to the full length. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So when I'm done with this, I'll just go ahead and just contour, and I'll use my marker pen to make my skirt pattern to be more visible, just the way you see me doing. So when I'm done with this, I'll just go ahead and set this aside so that we could focus on the back. So I will set this aside right now and focus on the back. So this is the pattern for the back, guys. I'll go ahead and roll out my starting line. After rolling out my starting line, I will go ahead and impute my zip allowance. So the allowance that I'll be using for my zip will be 1 inch. So there'll be zip in this skirt. So I used 1 inch for my zip allowance, and I marked it all through to the hem of the paper. And then I went ahead to use my ruler to connect this point into a straight line. After I'm done with this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to take my vertical measurement, which is my client's hip. Moreover, I will indicate zipper allowance so that you will know that this is my zipper allowance line. Then I'll head off to imputing my client's hip, which is 9, her hip line, her knee line and then the full length of the skirt. I'll do the same thing for this other side so that I can have a straight line, impute all of her vertical measurement, and then I'll use my ruler to connect this point into a straight line. So when I'm done with this, I'll also go ahead and indicate my line, which is the waistline, the actual hip, the knee line, and then the full length of the skirt. So remember that we've not gotten our upper hip, so from my hip length I will come up by 2 inches to achieve my upper hip. So I went ahead to connect that into a straight line. So this is my upper hip. So from this zipper allowance, I'm going to come in by 0.75. This is to eliminate any waist bulge around my waistline, and then I'll connect it to the upper hip. After that, guys, this is now our new line. So I will impute my waist on the hip line. I will impute my hip divided by 4. I'll do the same thing for the actual hip. I will also go ahead at this on the knee line. What I did was I came in by 1 inch because I do not want my skirt to be too wide. I wanted a little bit of tightening, and then I connected. And then I connected from the actual hip to the knee, then to the full length. So from there now, I will not repeat my hip measurement on the knee line and then on the full length. So when I'm done with this, I'll just connect this point to the shape that it is. Hope you understand what I'm saying. This tutorial is actually very easy if you pay attention. So when I was done connecting, remember that we'll still add our allowance, our sewing allowance. So the sewing allowance I'll be using will be 1 inch, just the way I used for the front. So I imputed my sewing allowance or my allowance on the hip, the actual hip, the knee I use 0.75, just the way I used for the front, and then the full length I still used 0.75. Then I connected using my marker pen. So this was me when I was connecting the points down to my full length. So after this, guys, I'll go ahead and reshape my zip allowance. So I'm adding an allowance to my zip now. So from that place now, I'm repeating my 1 inch allowance that I use for my zip, because you know that the shape of the skirt has changed. So you should also change or add your allowance for the zip side. I hope you understand. So this allowance I'm adding now, I am not going to add it on the fabric again. I have already added my allowance for the zip, so there is no need for me to add it on the skirt. So this is now my new zipper allowance. I hope you understand. This should not confuse you at all. So this was it, guys. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and bring the front so that I can go ahead and get my band. So for the band of my skirt, I'll be using 2 inches. But before I mark the 2 inches, I'm going to first of all come down by 1 inch. So I came down by 1 inch. This 1 inch is because it will eliminate some excesses around your waist. So that is why I came down by 1 inch. Then from that 1 inch, I came down by 2 inches to get my my waistband length. So the length I use for my waistband, or the width rather I use for my waistband, is 2 inches. Please don't be confused. Just whatever I do in this tutorial, just replicate it to your own and you will see the results. So this is my center front and this is my side front. So I've gone ahead to label it. So this is my band. I'll do the same thing for the back. So around the zipper allowance for the back, I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch instead of 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect it to my waistline, just the way you see me doing. Then to get my after that, I'll just get the width of my band, which is 2 inches. I will mark it across just like this, and then I'll go ahead and connect the points into a straight line. Don't be confused at all. So this is very easy. Just follow this pattern and you will know that, like, you will like the effect of your skirt. It's going to be so perfect. So I went ahead to label center back and side back. So I'll go ahead right now and I will cut it out. So this was me when I was cutting. First of all, I went ahead to cut out my band. This is very important. And then I will set it aside. Then I'll concentrate on the back pattern. So cut out the full length, the part that is remaining, like the excess, and then the zipper, just the way you see me doing. So after cutting this, I'll set this aside and cut the front. I'll notch, remember, I'll notch my zip allowance. This is very important, so you won't forget. Then I'll bring in the front pattern and then I'll go ahead and cut out the front pattern. So first of all, the band, which is very important, I'll cut it out and then I will set it aside. Then I'll go ahead now and cut out the main part of the skirt. So I'll cut out the full length. So after this is how it looks now, my back and then my front. So the next thing you're going to do right now, this is where the main work starts. So I'm going to flip this over. The side has to face the side. The side of the front has to face the side of the back. Do you get? Don't mistake this. So I match the side. So I'll go ahead now on the actual hip line, just the way for the back. I'll slant it open. Are you seeing what I'm doing? I'll do the same thing for the front. I'm going to slant the actual hip line for the skirt open. So now when I slant it open, I will now go ahead and match it together, just like this. The reason I slanted it open is because that can help me to close up the skirt part. You know, now we have the back and the front. It has to be in one piece. So we are trying to make the back and the front to be in one piece. Hope you get. So I'll use my masking tape now to make it to be in one piece. That's just the aim. So that we could start getting our slash and spread so easily if it's in one piece. So this is just me trying to make sure that the both sides of the front and the back matches together. Then I'll just go ahead and just tape this pattern down. Just watch closely. This is the real deal. If you make mistake here, then you're not going to get that drape effect that you want for your drape skirts or your drape gown, anything you want to do. So this is where you can make all your errors and then go away with it, but make sure you're watching carefully or closely. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to just manually slash and spread. I didn't measure, so now I'll just go ahead and use my tape to mark where I'm going to stop with the slash and spread. Remember, this is my actual hip line. So from the actual hip line, I'll place my tape there and then I'll come down by 5 inches. So this is where my actual hip line is going to stop. Then for the center front, it will stop by 2.5 inches. Are you seeing? So this is where I want it to stop. So if you want your drape to go extra down to the full length, it's what you want, or is the style you want. But because of the tutorial I'm doing, this is where it should stop. So I went ahead to just manually do my slash and spread method, and make sure that your slash and spread method is in a V form, just the way mine is in a V form. Do not make your slash and spread to be straight. If it's straight, that drape effect will not be there. So make sure it's not straight. So when I was done manually with my slash and spread, I went ahead to label them. And then when I was done labeling, I'll just set this aside and bring in my fabric. So the yard of this fabric is actually a Duchess fabric, and I'll be using this is a 3 yards fabric For those of you that be asking how many yards did I use, this is a 3 yards fabric and even remained, so you can't really exhaust the whole of the 3 yards. So but to be safe, just buy 3 yards. 3 yards is okay, it will still remain, but just buy it. So I just went ahead to place my paper. Remember, I folded my fabric into 2. Make sure your fabric is folded into 2. So the part that is closed is a part that will serve as the center front. I hope you get. Fold your fabric into 2. The part that is closed should be your center front. So I just went ahead to place it. So the allowance that I'll be using for this spacing is actually 1.5 inches. Sorry, 1.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead after placing it, and then I'll go ahead and use my chalk to just draw out the allowance. Make sure that you're marking out the allowance. As you can see me doing, I marked out some allowance even for the center back, and then the upper part too. I actually left 1/2 inch of allowance for the upper part. Then after I was done with this, I will just go ahead and cut it out. So this was when I was cutting the center front, and then I'll go ahead now. Sorry, the upper part, sorry, not center front. So this is when I was cutting the center front. I went ahead to notch my zipper allowance, which is very important. So now there's something I want to emphasize. On the center front that is folded, it is where the drape stop that I stop cutting. Remember that for the center front, I did not cut it straight down for the center front. While for the center back, I cut it straight down. Are you seeing? Please, I do not want you to be confused. For the center front, remember your fabric is closed into 2. So is where the drape part stopped that I stopped cutting for the center front. So I aligned my paper together so that I could measure where I'm going to. You know, this pattern paper is like a guide to where the gather is supposed to stop. So what I got was 8.8 inches. So for the back, I went ahead to measure the back where the gather is going to stop, because this pattern paper is my guide. So I got 10.5. So I'm going to gather it to 10.5 for the center back, and then I'm going to gather it 8.5 for the center front. Are you seeing what I was telling you? Are you seeing that the cutting of the center front only stopped? I see in the center front, that's where I'm touching now. The cutting only stopped where my drape stopped, while the other part of the center front skirt is not cut. So I'm measuring the 8.5 that I have on my pattern paper, and yes, we have the 8.5. So I went ahead to also measure on this other part to make sure that I also have that 8.8. Sorry, I'm very sorry, not 8.5, 8.8. On the pattern paper it was 8.8. So I made sure that it aligns, because if it doesn't align, it's not going to fit very well on my client. So I did the same thing for the back. I went ahead to check how many inches I have for the back. For the pattern, it was 10.5. So I'll just also do the same thing. I'll make sure that I draw the gather to fit into 10.5. So when I saw that it didn't fit, I had to readjust. I did the same thing for the other side of my skirt. Are you seeing? I checked if it was up to 10.5, and then I had to draw my gather just to make sure that everything that I have at the center back is 10.5. Are you seeing? So this is it, guys. I'll go ahead now and sew the center front by 1 inch. So this is my waistband. I'm going to go ahead now and match the side front and the side back together. Are you seeing? So I match the side front and the side back together so that I'll tape it down. It will give me a straight waistband. Hope you get what I'm saying. So at this point, guys, if you found value in my tutorial, please do well to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment if you have any question or anything that you want to say to me in the comment section. So this is it, guys. So this is the fabric that I'll be using for my waistband. I've gone ahead to infuse it with a hair stay. Then I folded the fabric into two, and then I placed my center front of the paper on the center front of the fabric, and then I'll go ahead and pin it down. After pinning it down, I'll go ahead now and add 1/2 inch around the paper. So I'm adding 1/2 inch and the lower part, upper part and the lower part of the band. That's why I'll be adding the 1/2 inch. So I actually added extra 1 inch on the zipper side, that's the center back of the paper, although it's not necessary because I already added it before in the pattern paper before cutting, but I just wanted to add it so that I'll be on a safe side. So that was why I added it. So after I was done with that, I went ahead to cut out. I cut out the first piece and I placed the first piece on the fabric again to cut out the second piece. So this was it, guys. I was just trying to arrange it so that it's going to fit properly. So it's okay now. Then I'll go ahead and cut it out. So this was it. When I was done cutting, I'll go ahead and remove my pins, and I'll notch the down part, because the down part is where I'm going to attach to the skirt. I'll open it up and then I'll place right sides facing each other, and then I'll go ahead and sew the upper part by the 1/2 inch allowance that I removed. So after sewing it, I'm going to show you how it looks. So this was when I was done sewing. I've gone ahead to sew, and I've also gone ahead to iron it out. So I'll bring in my skirt now so we could attach it. So this is my skirt. Are you seeing? I've gone ahead to sew down that middle part of the skirt, that are the gather parts that I told you that I was going to sew by 1 inch. So I went ahead to attach my band. From the notch is going to meet the middle part of the skirt. Then I will just use it and sew 1/2 inch, and I'll show you how it looks. So this was when I was done sewing my skirts, you guys. Are you seeing? This is the band. This is how beautiful the band is. This is how beautiful my skirt is. Are you seeing the drape? I've not arranged it yet, but it's already coming out very neatly and as it should be. So this is the skirt. So what I'm going to do next is to hem the downside of the skirt. So for the downside of the skirt, I'm going to go ahead and take it to my ironing table. I'll just bring in my ironing clothes, and then I'll iron out the lines. You remember that we added 2 inches for the hem, to the hem of the skirt. So it's that 2 inches that I'll be using to actually fold the skirt. So I'll just make sure that it's 2 inches. I'll iron. Also go ahead and check again if it's 2 inches, just to recheck. That's what I will just be doing till I get to the end of the skirts. So after I'm done ironing the length, ironing out the width of the hemming allowance for my skirt, the next thing I'm going to do is to also fold the tip by 1/2 inch. Are you seeing? I'm going to fold the tip by 1/2 inch, just the way you see me doing. I'll use my iron to fold it. Yeah. So after folding, I'll bring in my hemming gum. So I'll just place the hemming gum on the part that I need it to be, and I'll go ahead and iron it together so that it can stay put. So after I was done with that, guys, the next thing I'm going to do is just to iron it properly so that everything will blend well. And after I was done ironing, I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll sew it down. I won't just leave it like that. So this is how it looks. It already looks very clean. Are you seeing? So it looks very clean. I'll just go ahead and sew it down so that it will not pull up. Then I'll fold my fabric into two. I'll go ahead and attach my zip. I'll attach my zip to the back. Remember that I will adjust the gather part of the back so that I can get to the 10.5 inches before I attach my zip. So I'm just gathering it so that it will get to that 10.5 inches. So guys, this is my zip. I'll go ahead now, take it to the sewing machine, and then I'll attach my zip, and then I'll show you the final result. So this is the final result of my skirt, you all. It's so beautiful. Thank you for watching my video to the end. I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.